your chin up and your eyes wide. Showing that incredible focus. Good. So guys, today I'm going to talk about what I call superpowers that both I wrote about in the book, but also that we actually developed there at Krav Martial Arts. And Connor, I love your awesome position. You're setting the example, so you go in very good, very good. So let's start with why I call them superpowers in the first place. Because obviously I had already taught them for decades before I gave them that name. But as I started to write this particular book, what happened kind of cool was that I said, I can't remember why I asked myself the question in the first place, but I realized that hey, these attributes that we put into black belts, the thing that makes them great by the time they are black belts, are superpowers. And by that, I mean these three things. Number one, superpowers are rare. Not everybody has them. And here we see it. We go to the superpowers today, they're very rare in our world today. In fact, most people will spend very, very much time complaining about how rare they are in our world today. Few people will ever do anything about it. So, for example, right now, the way you're sitting with your legs crossed and your hands in the knees and your shoulders back, and your chin up and your eyes wide. Thank you, me, sir. Showing that incredible micro focus and focusing only on me, not on anything else in the room, not on any distraction that can possibly be around. That's the first superpower, focus. It's the ability to block out distractions and concentrate on what's important. And that's pretty rare. And the first thing about superpowers is that they're rare. The second thing about the black belt superpowers, just like any superpowers, is that they accomplish the person with the powers to accomplish superhuman things. And let me tell you something. It's true of all of these. And listen, when I get all passionate about teaching this subject, I know that most of you don't even believe me that it's as serious as I'm making it. I gotta tell you, on the other side of life, you recognize that it is. And you recognize that, man, the people that have done anything great had to be superpowers. And the third thing is that we should use our powers to serve other people. They're not for selfless things. They help us do a better job serving the people in the community around us, which, by the way, is what leadership is. Right? Yesterday we talked about a bunch of different definitions of leadership. One of the most important, right, is that we're making a positive difference in our world. We're living our purpose and our calling, which is serving the other people in the world around us, right? So the first superpower that we teach, what is it? Somebody yell it out. Focus. Focus. And focus is a superpower, and there's several different levels of it. On the surface level, like when we teach basic students, focus is the ability to block out distractions and concentrate on what's important. So what that means is even if there was a mirror behind you, you'd be so tempted to look at yourself that you would know that now I need to focus on the speaker because I'm learning something. If I was sitting in a conversation with somebody, and therefore, if Sensei Charlie was in my office and we were in a discussion, by definition, because I had allocated my most valuable resource, which is time, to Sensei Charlie for that time, he's the most important person in my life at that time. I won't answer the phone or a text or anything else for any reason. Because Sensei Charlie is my focus. The ability to drive a car without letting your phone distract. The ability, like all these different things, there's lots and lots of examples of the surface level focus. The ability to, like I said, listen to me right now, not let anything else take your eyes or your ears or your focus off of me. That's the surface level. That's the first. But even that level is rare. By the way, all of you in here, all of you, even the ones that are struggling with it, are already ahead of most people. Most people in here really recognize the problem. Not doing anything about it, you got no training already. Two claps. There's deeper levels of focus that as you get more advanced, I teach you more about. For example, we create the world around us by what we focus on. That's a very, very deep level superpower that I can only teach you later. Because everything that exists in the world, created by God or man, and the things created by man were created first in the mind, and the focus, right? Plus our emotional responses, another deep one, are a result of our focuses. We focus more on the positive things in our life or the negative things in our life. We focus on solutions or problems. Right? These are the more kinds of ways of focus. Everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about focus? Yes, sir. So who can tell me what the second superpower is? Yell it out.
Respect.
Good job. Who was that? Everybody gets it by 82 guys. There's two kinds of important respect. What's one of them? Respect for yourself. How many people know, hands down, how many people know that when, which is very, very common in our society today, when people, whatever the age, very common amongst teenagers and young adults now, allow themselves to fall into depression and start having unhealthy thoughts, it's partly because of a lack of self-respect. Now, I know what I just said is very controversial. I love saying controversial things. But it means they haven't learned their true value, their true worth, their true, they feel like they're bringing positive to the world. Whatever they read, where they care more about what other people think about them than they care about who they are. So developing self-respect is one of the most important things. And especially because you have to have self-respect in order to have other respect. One cannot give that which one does not possess. So it starts with self-respect. And then it's about respecting others. And again, we start you on a very, very simple level, right? We just teach you the 7 words of respect, right? We just say the 7 words of respect. Can you really do it already, Chris? Stand up, give us 7 words of respect.
No, sir. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please, thank you, and you're welcome.
Wow! Man, Chris just started, so that is impressive. And see, even that, truth, how often do you hear somebody say yes or no, sir? Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, thank you, you're welcome in the world outside of it. You're in a lot of them. You do? It's amazing that they make out a good surface. I don't hear that much. I hear yeah, I hear, right? And I'm talking everywhere. I'm talking about in the grocery store, I'm talking about, and, just conversations between people. Actually, the lack of respect that bothers me the most, and very, very common again in the new generation, is when we respond to the text. Number one, I don't want to be texting in the first place. I'd much rather be talking to somebody. But if I text them a question, what I want is a response. There seems to be this popular thing that the person just needs to understand and read their mind on what their response was to the thing. Right? In fact, every time an adult says something to you, you should respond. You guys understand?
Yes, sir.
Because it shows respect, it lets them know you're listening, it lets them know you're engaged. And it's just, but by the way, that's a very surface level of respect. It's way, way deeper than that. We could get into conversations of things like trust and loyalty and kinds of really deep levels of this superpower. But for now, we're just talking about basic self-respect and basic listening to others. What's the third superpower? Discipline. And discipline is fun. Discipline's kind of like leadership. Remember when we had the leadership discussion and we were talking about how there's so many different definitions? And 10 different people can give a definition of leadership and they can all be right. Right? There's no one correct definition of leadership. That's kind of like this. So just become what are the couple definitions that people have heard or believe is discipline? So one form of discipline is doing what you're told to do when you're told to do it. Good job. 2 claps.
Doing what you're supposed to do when you're not.
Ooh, self-discipline, doing what you're told to do you're not. I mean, doing what you're supposed to do when you're not told to do it. Give him 2 claps. Jeez. He's totally yours. That's awesome. Good mind, stay alive. 2 claps. Rose? Somebody else answer that. It's a relatively simple but important question. Is discipline and self-discipline the same thing? Jacob.
No, it's not the same thing. Discipline is the act of doing something that you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. And self-discipline is the act of doing the thing that you're supposed to do not.
Exactly right. 2 claps. You know what's interesting about it? We can have a discussion. Again, we're not really going to go this deep into any of this today, but it's fun to kind of tickle around the ends of it. To go into a discussion about which comes first. Because when Grandmaster Smith was here last time, he made a comment that I had never heard before. I was like, oh, interesting perspective. Because in my mind, it's always been it's easier to learn discipline, and then later as you get more mature, you can do self-discipline. He said it differently. He said, we teach kids self-discipline because in order to truly have submit to authority of others, one must first discipline themselves. I was like, huh, you never thought of that before, right? So you can make an argument on either side of it, right? And Ephraim's kind of mellow. I can tell he's retaining himself like that. That's awesome. Get into that.
I'm just kind of, I'm just thinking about what you're saying.
Listen,
Because,
and I meant that as a compliment because you have multiple good things to say. That's awesome.
all I was thinking about is that to me, all discipline is self-discipline, and all respect is self-respect.
Love it.
Because you've got, and this is just my philosophy, my theology, so you're not taking what I'm about to say as yours. I believe each got a piece of God, and because we've got that piece of God, that's how we honor the world, is by first, keeping that honor our leaders.
I love it. I love that. 2 claps. There it is. But discipline, everybody discipline is pretty rare. By the way, it's not rare amongst, I hate to use the word successful because there's so many different interpretations of what success is. I mean, successful or significant, making a big splash in the world. All of those people have this. It's impossible to create great things, to accomplish great things without it. By the way, does it mean you have perfect discipline? No, because I do believe discipline has been self-discipline has been one of the secrets to me being able to have a little bit of success and a little bit of significance in life. But I don't have perfect discipline. Sometimes I do things and I go, I can't believe I did that. I know better than that, right? So none of us has perfect discipline. And by the way, what has changed is I don't do the kind of things that I did when I was 20. If I still were making the kind of mistakes I was making when I was 20, or making the kind of mistakes I was making when I was 30, or making the kind of mistakes I was making when I was 40, even making the kind of mistakes I was making when I was 50, then I'd be disappointed in myself. So at least I try to make new mistakes, but I do sometimes go, that was not very disciplined. That was right. So like all of it, it's all a process. We're never become perfect. But I will tell you this. Number one, discipline is a good thing. Unfortunately, what has happened is that when some people hear the word discipline, they think of a negative thing. And it's because, if you think of the negative manifestation, there is such a thing as negative discipline. That's not the discipline. That's not the discipline we're talking about here. We're talking about the self-discipline. We're talking about the thing that makes us, this is what I think is important. It's the thing that makes us do the thing that we said we were going to do when the excitement and energy in which we said it is not. See, almost anybody, there's exceptions to this one too, but almost anybody can perform really well at something while they're excited about it. But then what happens is the thing gets hard, the thing gets boring, the thing gets challenging, the shiny thing happens, the whatever, distractions happen, and it's harder to maintain a commitment to the thing we said we wanted to do after the excitement wears off. Discipline, as John Maxwell said, is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Which is to say, when I continue to do the thing, when I continue to do the things that move me towards the thing that I said that I wanted to do, even though I don't want to do it, that's discipline. You understand?
Yes,
There's probably a better way to say it for the young people, to be honest, because I have a tendency to speak at a little higher level, but maybe it's okay, because I think you guys also rise up to the level most of the time. But did I say that in a way that was understandable to everybody? Was that understandable to you, what it means? Or would it be better if somebody else would say it better? Yes? Who can translate what I'm trying to explain in a way that is easier for a 5-year-old? Anybody?
I'm not that.
Oh, sorry, that's Pierce. You're like 8. How are you? 7? That's awesome. I remember when I was 7. It was terrible, but I know y'all's life is not. So that's great. 2 claps. All right. Anybody? How can you explain this? This would be a fun project. Because they said, somebody once told me that if you can't explain it in a way that everybody can understand it, then you don't have to understand it. So this would be a really, really good thing. How can I explain this in a way that everybody can understand? Yes, ma'am, please. Awesome. Awesome. That was a great, you understand that example? And that was one example, right? So doing, what would be another example?
This is also sort of like homework, but, how many of you eat homework? Yeah. Homework, yeah, John wrote it. Well, Jay gives homework so much that when we were back in New York City, where they gave a lot of homework, even in kindergarten, he was really hating it, and he really not want to do it. I can't say I blame him.
Right?
But I said to him at the time, Jake, if you got something like this, the only way to do it is to do it. Because if you try to put it off, it's still going to be there, it's going to hang over your head, and you're going to get a consequence for not having done it, whatever that consequence is. I'm sorry that if I already have this, but it's a consequence. The only way to do something unpleasant is to run at the unpleasant thing and get through it, move through it, and appreciate it. Reward yourself and moving through it while you're moving through it, and then through it, and then you're through it.
And then you can do the benefits of having done it. Yeah, I love it. 2 claps. And as these, also give these awesome things to help me explain better here, I did think of 2 other ways to say it that might be simple. One is that discipline is about doing more of the things that we know we should do to become better, and less of the things that we know we shouldn't do because they make us worse. Right? And I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and use the analogy of martial arts real quick. It happens to people on their way to becoming a black belt sometimes. It's a Saturday time because they never ever get to recognize the true benefit of the martial arts. Because you either become a black belt and you're going to see your black belt, or you try martial arts. But you have to at least get to that level for the first grade in order to even experience the benefit. And then after that, the real growth starts, to be honest. People that get to 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree will tell you how rewarding that was. But the point is this. On that journey, there's going to be a time, I'll tell you the truth. Nothing is fun and easy all the time. Not even this, as great as it is. There will be a time that you're like, this again? Test. Or, I can do this, this is hard. Test. Or, I didn't want to go try another thing. I have a habit of jumping from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. I don't want to limit myself to any one thing. Test. Or, and why do I call them tests? Because you'll never ever achieve greatness at anything that way. I'll say another unpopular but true thing. Mastery only happens with focus on something you want to become great at. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do other things. I got lots of great white belts that play other sports and stuff, right? But you don't become a great black belt if it's one of the many things you're doing. You don't become a great pianist if it's one of the many things you're doing. You don't become a great guitarist if it's one of the many things you're doing. Right? Like, it doesn't mean you can't do many things, but you have to actually put enough focus on the things you become great at. Make sense? Yes, sir.
So, I think a good summation of all this is doing what you know you should or that you're expected to, even when it's hard.
Love it. Hear that? Another great definition of this. All right. So here's some 2 tips. By the way, there's some fun stories in the book about it, right? About my doing this. Just got more examples. So focus, respect, discipline. What's the next one? Confidence. Confidence. Now, confidence is definitely a superpower because, as Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And a crisis of confidence is the most common reason why people won't do the things that are dreams of their heart. The enemy of confidence is fear. Having said that, because you're confident doesn't mean the fear goes away. Batman's Batman, but the film is still fear. You see what I'm saying? All very successful people, once again, go through periods of fear, though. This is happening again, or can I really do that? Or is what people can say? Or whatever, right? Like all of that. But confidence just means that you believe in yourself enough to go out there and do what it is that you're called to do, even when it's hard, even if so it couples with discipline. In fact, I would almost say that sometimes I thought about this when I was writing the book, but I said, it's true, but it doesn't make the fact that it's a superpower untrue. And this is what I mean. Is these are these things that we can work to develop in a very, very specific way. And this thing is almost a result of those things. And other things like competence. Like you can take even somebody that's not naturally confident, but they become great at something, now all of a sudden they're confident in that thing. Understand what I mean? So but confidence, the superpower, really is being confident in everything that you want to apply your energy to. Remember, confident doesn't mean that you have to yet be competent. Use your confidence towards competence. Now, somebody in here was just thinking, I don't know if it was Jacqueline or Richard or Kim over there, but somebody was thinking, you have second degree and above degree mind. Over there, somebody was thinking, yeah, but there's also such a thing as too much confidence, and too much confidence can also keep you from so true. What's an example in the martial arts of too much confidence? Okay, but what's even more common and more poignant is the word I'm looking for. I know if you understand poignant, that means like true and dangerous. Poignant. Says ego. Ego, and specifically ego that says, I know that. You read my mind that time. T-claps. The ego that says, I know that. And it happens more often with people that are approaching black belt. You guys are in more danger than the white belts. Because it's the place where you start to think you got it, and then the little bit more learning that you need to make it to the next level is blocked by I know that. Right? So that's the example of too much confidence. Yes, sir.
To say is I have knowledge in that, but there's always more.
Absolutely true. I'll give you one more crazy example, and I'm sorry I got so far off what we really, but we're having fun talking together. Here's a great example. This is like a decade ago for me, like 10 years ago. Is I took this financial management class, and I went in and I almost did it. As the guy started talking, I'm like, man, I've learned all this before. And then the guy said the most brilliant thing. He said, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. In other words, yeah, I understood all the principles, but I wasn't managing my money right. So it means I didn't know it. Just like you can understand the technique, or the principle, or the attribute of the martial arts that we're working on, but unless you can actually apply the thing, and by the way, what's the next step of what because being able to apply is the first step of competence, and you know what the next step is? Yes, okay, the next step after that.
Always applying it and mastering it.
Yes, what do you think? Being able to teach it. So there's the we call the practitioner level is where you can do the technique well. Somebody tries to stab you with a knife, you can do a 360 defense and stop them from stabbing you with a knife. The ability to communicate the things to a student where they can do it as well is the next level of understanding. Make sense?
So that ties directly to Xavier's messages yesterday.
Ooh, how's that talent? So you big say. Truth is, that's the first time I had ever heard him talk. I knew he was, but it was the first time I ever heard him teach. I was like, no wonder he's message. Okay? 2 claps. Okay, now, somebody, what's the next one?
Right.
Gratitude. And what's the last one, guys?
Vision.
Vision. Now here's the point. The reason I did gratitude and vision together is because in truth, when I was writing the book, I wrote about vision first. And then I realized something was missing. It was an afterthought. I was like, because I went right from confidence to vision. And then it was almost like God was talking to me because of our eyes. Right? You can't truly have vision unless you also have gratitude. Because the right way to be in the world, the superhero way, the black belt superhero way, is there's a constant tension between the two. The constant tension is this. I'm always, by the way, I'm saying this, it truly is me. I feel this. I'm always grateful for how far I've come. And I've always got hunger for where I'm going next. Always grateful, never satisfied. Satisfied sounds like a bit of connotation. It's not. What it just means is I want to keep growing, I want to keep growing, I want to keep doing that. Right? Okay, I got that. Now what's next? Right? Because of this, and then again, I meant to make the point on a much simpler level. I got a little deeper with you guys, maybe it's because you're such a deep group. Number one is we have to be grateful for all the things we're doing. We shut down the energy in the world. By the way, for those of us, and there's like 3 different faiths in here, and what we all believe, right? For believers, it's God that's giving us this force. Even if you don't believe it in that way, there's definitely a force and an energy in the universe that gives you good things. When we're not grateful for the things, we shut down that energy. You have to have gratitude. By the way, it's you know, how many people have already experienced this? Here's a good analogy. How many people you have a friend or had a friend where you just keep giving and giving and giving? You're the one always giving, and they never give back, nor are they ever even grateful. Right? Like how long do those friends stay your friends? At some point, you eventually get over them, right? You get tired of being the only one to give. So that's how the world is. That's how the world is. Like we have to be grateful for what we have. You know, said in a different way, say in a more scientific way, because of the reticular activation system, you get more of what you focus on. So therefore, when we focus on things to be grateful for, we get more things to be grateful for. When we focus on things to whine and snivel about, we get more things to whine and snivel about. You guys understand that?
Yes, sir.
But the vision is where I want to stop now. And we're going to do a little vision exercise before we move on to the problem of that. The vision, where there is no vision, the people perish, is a proverb and a principle. But here's what it means. You have to see what you want before you can have it. Everything that exists in the world was first a vision in somebody's mind. Probably then, I bet you that the Wright brothers had that dream and vision about an airplane I know for a fact, we all know for a fact from history that they had that new vision on their plane long before anybody else thought that there was possible. But I bet you that then they sat down and they started making sketches of what their airplane would look like. Leonardo da Vinci, another great example. Really anybody great at anything happened. Yes.
I think we're missing something.
What?
I think it is fun. Because you have to have fun to be great. Because if you want to be great, you have to help. If you don't have fun, you just be like, yeah, I'm great enough. It's too hard.
So, you know what? So I think that the superpower is confidence, but I think that what you're really talking about is one of the things that the coach talked about yesterday was pride in performance. And I do think it's an important element for our success. I don't know the elevators of my superpower, but I think you're right that you have to have it. Give her 2 claps. The vision is, how many of you have had the vision of what you're going to do like in your life? Raise your hand. Tell the truth, you're up for life, but have you had it? Raise your hand. Let me tell you something, I remember how much I saw it. And they good. How many, oh, here's a fun one, because there's people of all different ranks. How many people have begun to become more like their vision? That's the first, right? The first step is to have the vision. The second step is, now I'm working towards it, I'm doing the things it takes, so I'm actually becoming a little bit more like that vision. Right? And at some point you will actually accomplish the vision. Oh, and that's why it's so important. I've already said that. Because the worst thing that can ever happen is you arrive. There's a great story, I'm not going to tell it here, because I've already gone way too deep and way too long. But if you've never researched it, research what happened to the, what was the Apollo mission that went to the moon? Which one was Apollo? Apollo 11. Research what happened to the people at NASA after they accomplished. It's scary. It's what happens when, and not just the people at NASA, the organization itself finally got its act together again. The problem was they had accomplished the goal, they had been working so hard at their whole life that, I mean, some of the big names, like, had serious problems afterwards because they lost their purpose. So we always, we never want to accomplish a goal without having something else. Okay? So, but vision. Let's talk right now. Let's not talk, let's get to sheets. Where's the vision worksheets? Now we're going to do this a little different, by the way, because I know some of you are going to say, I already did that. I did that years ago. But we're about to, you guys are going to be the ones to help me kick off Black Belt goal setting season for the summer. So one of the things we do for Black Belt goal setting season is wherever you are in the process, thank you, sir, and we might even need more, so one of the things we do for Black Belt goal setting season is even Black Belts do it. Everybody does. Because of what I just talked about. They're setting the goal. For some of you, it's going to be setting the vision for the first time. And that's very exciting. But we already talked about discipline is about doing the things that it takes to keep moving us towards that vision, even when we don't want to do it. This is part of that. It's meant to reignite the vision. Because when we lose the vision, we perish. Or at least that piece of vision, right, our goal. Right? Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right. So, probably going to need, here's I will probably need more of these two. You start passing them out. So my staff's coming with more papers. We're also going to need like some pins and not everybody has pins and pencils and everything with them, right? Because we're actually going to do this here together today. Now listen, tell you what, anybody who, let me get my 15-year-olds and older to stand up. 15 or older, stand up. See how you're older than 15? How old are you? You're 14? 14 and older, stand up. All right, you guys are going to be the group leaders. Because I know some of you are going to be a little confused about what the exercise is, okay? So we're going to go into small groups. Look back there, all those people. You can go to any one you want. You can sit with them so you can work on it together. So if you have any questions, you can ask them and they can help you. Everybody understand? Yes. All right, go.
Does everybody have one?
You can find a leader to help you. Yeah. Oh, is there a leader right now? Now let me just ask a good question. If you just did one and it's still up on the mirror, you don't have to do another one, obviously. Right? But if you haven't done one in a while, I want you doing it, okay? Okay. Good. Hey guys, you guys want to split up a little bit? You want to help you too? Go ahead. It's okay, just go ahead. Which is your brother?
We need lots more. Everybody. Remember, Gabriel's ready. Everybody's behind Gabriel. Got it? Yeah. I want you to be part of the put a smile on his face. There you go. He doesn't know anybody here before, right? This is his first day. This is like Angels. Pretty good. Well, I know that one. One more time. Well,
I haven't learned about what
There you go.
So,